Today on Marketing Mavericks, we talk about more fallout with Comcast customer service, handling a PR nightmare, and building your personal brand. Coming up next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Marketing Mavericks is provided by Cashfly at CACHEFLY.com.
This episode of Marketing Mavericks is brought to you by NatureBox. Order great tasting, healthy snacks delivered right to your door. Forget the vending machine and get in shape with healthy, delicious treats like coconut cashews. To get 50% off of your first box, go to naturebox.com/twit. That's naturebox.com/twit. And by Hover, the best way to buy and manage domain names. It's simple, honest, and easy to use. For 10% off of your first purchase, go to hover.com and enter the promo code MM8. Welcome to Marketing Mavericks, where we talk about everything at the intersection of marketing and technology. We have a great lineup today of some, well, let's just say cowboys of sorts. And the first cowboy we're going to talk to is somebody that I've known for a long time. He is the CEO of a PR agency, Tallgrass PR. He also has the former chief marketing officer at Kodak, and he's host of C-Suite on the Bloomberg Network. Welcome, Jeff Hayzlett, to Marketing Mavericks.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and join you. And face-to-face, we've talked by radio before. This is our first time face-to-face, so I'm excited.
I know, not face-to-face enough. We need to get you to Petaluma into our studio, for sure.
I'm in. I travel almost every day. Just let's go. Let's do it.
I know. I can't keep up with you. I mean, who can, really? I know your team tries, and they do a great job, actually.
They do. They're great people, and they back me up and do a great job leading me, telling me I call it hitting the mark. By the way, that's what we refer to it in our business. Is they set it up for me to hit the mark, much like it's on stage, just like we try to do for our clients, just like I try to do on television. Let me hit the mark and do what I do, and they do a great job of that.
Speaking of which, you're also a great public speaker, and certainly if someone decides to Google you, they're going to find a lot of videos of you speaking at a variety of events. You're very dynamic, and I think your celebrity CMO is a part of your brand, and that's part of what I want to talk about is later, certainly, is kind of developing your personal brand and how important that is. Probably no one's done it better than you have.
Well, I appreciate it. We do get a lot of feedback about that, and of course, that's one of the things when I left Kodak about 4 years ago, I left with the idea of let's go out and create a brand. Let's go out and create, an entity. And we called it a global business celebrity. And someone said, what's that? And I said, whatever the hell we say it is, and so because that's what we were building it around. And so we tried to make business sexy and try to build up a position as we went towards, becoming I guess some people would say a thought leader of those. I don't like to use that term, but we really went after to try to position myself because that's all we had at the time. We didn't have anybody else, and this was it. And we said, if we can do it with me, then we can do it with anyone. And then we went out and created our own, primetime television show on Bloomberg, which became #1. And now we're doing csuitetv.com, which is television online, which is the same as broadcast, just the fact that you can watch it online. So we're doing a lot of innovative things.
Gee, I think I'm familiar with that kind of network. But you didn't start your television debut was certainly not on Bloomberg. You actually, when you were at Kodak, you were on was it the Celebrity Apprentice or the Regular Apprentice?
No, Celebrity Apprentice. I did Celebrity Apprentice for 3 years, and actually was back last season as well for the finale. But it was one of the judges on the task that we had as part of our with Kodak, but it went very well, and of course. I hit it off with the Donald pretty well, so he's had me back to do some other things, and we've done some other work together over the last 4 or 5 years since I've left Kodak. So, but I always tell people, with a face like this, it deserves to be on television. So, what's the chance?
There's definitely no stopping you, Jeff. When we first met, you were the chief marketing officer at Kodak, and you talked a lot about the time That was really when social media was just really getting started and businesses were this evolution of how we market was changing. You were also working for a brand that was going through a significant change at that time as well, right?
Oh yeah, big change. And unfortunately, our brand didn't reflect the brand promise, of what it was. Basically, the company really went bankrupt back in 1975, and it just finally caught up to it. It just took so long. They were such a big, huge company with hundreds of thousands of employees at one time. Had market cap bigger than all of the automakers combined at one time. And it was a product that was they had margins of some 90% making a little roll of film, but that didn't reflect who they were. But social media certainly was a part of that in terms of reflecting who they were because of the way in which it was a very celebratory brand. So it was something you could touch and feel, and that's the way a lot of people felt about Kodak. So I thought it was a great mechanism, but at the same time, we were going through all these changes in marketing, trying to cut spending, and to me, social media is a big use of OPM, other people's money, and it's tapping into those networks and people, and then having them talk about you. But unfortunately, for Kodak, we didn't have a lot of good things to talk about. We tried our best, we tried to push it, but sometimes even though no matter how hard you climb the mountain, you can't get to the top for whatever reason. And that was one of the cases for the company. And of course, after I left it, almost 4 years later, it went bankrupt.
When did you realize that it was time to move on and start something? Because again, you reinvent yourself all the time, meaning you find a new project. You were mayor at one point, so you've been in politics. You've been the chief marketing officer at Kodak. You've started your own firm. You were the host of a TV show. So you do a lot of different types of things. When did you decide with Kodak that chapter was closing and that it was time to try something new?
Well, I didn't expect to stay there very long, Tonya. It's a great question because you need to be thinking about your career path and what it is. And for chief marketing officers, typically, most CMOs at that time were only in the job for 18 months. That was the lifespan of a CMO. So going into it, I knew it was going to be short. And then I knew it would be short regardless. But I ended up staying there for 4 years because I love the people. And I really did love the company. And I love the community and everything about it. I love the challenge. I mean, those are all great things. But I knew going into it, it was going to be tough. And I knew once I got into it, I didn't think it was, I really didn't think, quite frankly, it was going to work. But I gave it my best shot because that's what I signed up to do. And if you sign up to do a job, you go deliver and you do the job the best you possibly can. But, I'm also one of those people about every 4 years, I'm on to something new. That was the longest I ever stayed in any type of job or position in my entire history or career. Because I'm somewhat of a mercenary, someone, as you said, kind of reinvents himself because I do like that challenge. I have 3 things: build wealth, grow professionally, and have fun. And those are the things I try to live by. And so I do typically start new companies. I bought and sold over 250 companies in my career. I've been involved with many, many brands, and I work with some of the greatest brands there are today. And it's because I like to have that fun and I like to do things that are interesting. And make money, because that's how we keep score.
And that is how we keep score. And you're an author. Your first book, which I have right here.
Yeah, that's one. That's my first book, The Mirror Test. Look at it. It's dog-eared. You've been reading that, baby. I like that. And that was the first book. We did about 250,000 books, 250,000 of those. And then Running the Gauntlet, a follow-up bestseller. We sold about 500,000 of those and still selling them and still doing well. And I just submitted today my 3rd book proposal to someone. And hopefully we'll be able to come out with that very soon. And then we got another 4th book in the works that we're going to crowdsource around the C-Suite show and our C-Suite network. So really excited about what the year's going to bring. Probably 2 books, maybe even 3. We're working on a special book for charity, which I think is going to be kind of a cool one too. More of a picture book. I don't want to give it away. But
nobody's
really
listening.
Cool.
Come on, you can do it.
No, I can't. This is so big. And I've got people participating with me, like, we're working with Katy Perry, Trace Adkins, and, a whole host of people that are going to be involved with this book. So I'm really excited about it.
When you decided to write books, you talk a lot about just what it's like to be a leader, how to sell, and that sort of thing. What's this next book going to be about? Is it going to be about the Jeff Hayzlett story, or is it going to be more along the same lines as what you've written about in the past?
It is more along that. It's more along the Hayzlett story, but the fact that you can do it too. I mean, I always, and you know this, Tonya, you've seen my website. It says we have offices in New York, LA, San Francisco, and Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and then it has ... because we can. And that's always been my philosophy. People say, geez, well, how did you get on Celebrity Apprentice? How did you get a hold of Donald Trump or meet him and do business with him. I said, well, I called 411 and asked for Donald Trump. True story. So it's because I can, because I think we can, and I don't let anything hold me back. My staff came to me today and said, well, about the budget. I said, what budget? I didn't give you a budget. I asked you to go get something done. Go get it done. Now, you tell me what it costs. If I think it's too much, then we're going to have a budget. But until then, do not let, certain stories or the way in which we've acted in the past stop you from doing the things you want to do into the future. And so that's what this book's going to be about, how you can do it. Look, I'm in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'm here now at my ranch in South Dakota, my place. I call it my ranch, but it's because everybody else calls it a ranch. We call it a farm here in South Dakota, or my little ranchette. But the key thing is I'm doing this from South Dakota. I mean, I got a world #1 primetime television show. I got another show I'm hosting. I'm investing in 2 other television shows that we're about to launch next month, and more coming down the pike. And we got a C-suite network. I mean, I'm having a blast, and it's because I can.
And it is because you can. And I believe in that philosophy myself very much so, that I would much rather ask for forgiveness than for permission. And I think that's pretty much how you run your life, right?
I do that all the time. I'm always getting into trouble. But you know what? No one's going to die for the most part. So go ahead, give it a shot. What's the worst they can say? No, or they can yell at you? That happens all the time. So, no one's going to die for the most part, especially when it comes to marketing. Worst that's going to happen to us, a paper cut, maybe a paper cut. That's it. So, get it done. Move on.
Get it done and move on. I think that's great. And, we do have a few other guests I want to get to and talk a lot about some of the things that are happening in business. I know that you have some strong opinions about how to run business, being a leader, being a mentor, finding the right talent. And before we do that, I do actually want to thank one of our sponsors. Our Marketing Mavericks is a wonderful sponsor, and we do appreciate those, and that is NatureBox. So I'm going to say something that's probably going to shock you, but I think you need to be snacking more. That's right. You need to be snacking more. Why? Well, I've discovered NatureBox. NatureBox snacks have 0 trans fats, 0 high fructose corn syrup, and nothing artificial. NatureBox sends great tasting snacks right to your door with free shipping anywhere in the U.S. Here's how it works. Go to naturebox.com/twit. Click on the continue button. Go to choose between 3 different subscription options. Then place your order. Once you're a member, you can select which snacks you want. You can select by dietary needs, by taste. The next time you get cranky and hungry and you're ready to eat anything, which we've all been there, remember NatureBox. Snack guilt-free with smoky pumpkin seeds, lemon pucker pistachios, dried pears, and over 100 more healthy choices. To get 50% off of your first box, go to naturebox.com/twit. Stay full, stay strong. Go to naturebox.com/twit. And we thank NatureBox for their support of Marketing Mavericks. Love NatureBox, especially those cashew coconut snacks. Are you a big snacker, Jeff?
Look at me. The size I am, I got to eat snacks all the time. I eat more of my horse. But I saw some things in there I like. I saw the blueberry almond, whatever. I'm going to order some of these things. That's good.
They're really good for you.
If they made them in bacon, that would even be better. But then it wouldn't be like Nature's Box. It wouldn't be as healthy. So yeah, I'll go with the. I like nuts. I like nuts.
Well, you know what? That I'm not even going to touch that. I think it takes one to know one, right? Okay, so
exactly.
We've got a couple of other panelists that I want to join us now, including Jeff Russakow, who is the CEO at Findlay. Welcome, Jeff.
Thanks very much for having me.
Our Jeff number 2, I think, as we were calling you before the show. And Bob Knorpp.
We should say Yahoo, because he used to be a Yahoo too.
That's right. He was the Chief Customer Care Officer at Yahoo. Bob Knorpp, who is the host of a very famous podcast called the BeanCast, and Jon Ferrara, who is a pioneer and creator of CRM solutions and currently the CEO at Nimble. Welcome, John and Bob.
Thanks, Tonya.
And Jeff number 2.
Thank you.
I think we should.
You know what's cool? You got to say, I'm jumping in. We're gonna have a tough time. I know all 3 of these guys, but that's one of the cool things about the level of which you're talking to the folks that are here, but just the level of the C-suite in general. We all know each other, and if we haven't really met face to face, like for instance, Jeff, and I haven't met face to face, but we knew each other. We walked some of the same ground. I was at some of the same conferences and so forth, but we all have run into each other, and I knew Jon back when he was running Goldmine, sold Goldmine for a freaking fortune, and now he's running Nimble, doing that. And Bob's got one of the most influential podcasts that are out there. It's kind of like a thinking man's podcast. I always like to be on there because you get on debates. And this is going to be a great panel. Let's go.
Let's go. Okay, saddle up your horses, boys. It's ready to ride. Great. Okay, so I think one of the biggest conversations that we've been having lately, and it's about what's considered a monopoly, but it's Comcast, right? Comcast customer care has been a topic of discussion for the last couple of weeks. If you were paying attention this morning, a second phone call was recorded with bad customer service from a customer who was trying to get credit on their bill for charges that they shouldn't have received, and that went viral. So let's talk about this.
This is a snowball thing. I mean, come on. There's no way they can stop it now because somebody has recorded them doing something stupid. Now everybody's got their recorder sitting by their phone, ready to record as soon as they go on for a customer service call. There's no way they're going to avoid this at this point without changing the way they do things. And quite frankly, they can't change the way they do things. They're doing things the way the entire industry does it. To make this kind of shift is not something like just change the way that you have your customer service people deal with, people in these situations. It's more about how they're spiffed, how they're compensated, the training that goes on, the fact that the entire industry is dying because there's so much competition, and there's so much cable cutting going on. There is no easy solution to this for Comcast.
Okay.
I think a company brand is built by the promises you make and the experiences you deliver to your customers. And basically, the big problem with a lot of these brands is they don't really understand or put themselves in the shoes of the customers. I'd love the CEO of United to go jump in a seat next to his customers and experience the experience that they experience on a daily basis that causes dear friends of mine to tweet out on a regular basis how crappy their customer experience is. That's why you have customer experience officers like Jeff, who basically are out there helping brands understand the customer journey.
So let's talk about that. Are we talking about Jeff number 1 or Jeff number 2?
Jeff number 2. Jeff down here.
So Jeff number 2, let's talk about that. Customer care. I mean, when you think about, let's take even Comcast out of the equation and you look at just the massive numbers of employees that call centers hire and go through and rehire. It's a constant. Hiring process is a constant. Training process. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say whether Comcast acted inappropriately because I think that's a different conversation, but just the fact that you have to keep training employees. Are we training them wrong? Are we hiring the wrong people? What's happening with customer care today that might be different, or what we need it to be different than maybe it was 10 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, that's a large topic, but if I were to hit a few things from the comments we just had, the first is when you're dealing with 30 million customer contacts a month, as I was with Yahoo, there's this temptation of management to start thinking of the user community as a number, the 30 million. And the numbers are so high, they almost start to take a probabilistic approach to people, an acceptable loss, if you will. And look, it's very hard to have a perfect interaction times 30 million people a month. But the minute you start to get down the slippery slope of probability, you basically become desensitized. So the first problem you have is people doing that and then setting budgets and resources and running their operations as a number. And that's broader than customer care. That's whether it's user engagement or anything where you're engaging with that large number of people. And we see this across almost any of the businesses, whether it be Google, Twitter, Facebook, et cetera, that just handles tens of millions to hundreds of millions of people. The second thing was...
Well, there you go.
You can only be as good as your lowest common denominator. And in every business, small business to large, doesn't make a difference. There are people who should not be working in your business. I'll guarantee it. There's someone at the lower level that you just need to switch out, who's a moron, whatever. I love those people. We're just going to miss some of them, so to speak. And Comcast has got that. United has got that. Every company has got that. And even in a small business, if you have a small number of employees, 10, I'll guarantee you there's a person or two that you would like to take out and replace because you can only be as good as that weakest link. The second thing is is they mentioned, look, when you have something like this, it's like a teeter-totter. I use my pet as an example. And you either have, great service or cost, and you got to cut cost, you got to give up the service. Something's got to give. And that's what's going on and has been going on for a long time. If we want the cheaper cost, we want the commodity stuff, then we're not going to get the service that we want. And those things happen.
And that was kind of to my second point. Please go ahead.
One of the things I think that's key for saying, Jeff Hayzlett, is that the lowest common denominator is a big part of it, but the C-suite is an even bigger part of it. I believe that the tone is set from the top. And if you don't have an executive staff, specifically the CEO, who cares about the customer experience and is constantly driving culture within the company and empowering customers to make positive decisions in the interactions they're having with customers, there's no way the lowest common denominator can ever succeed in delivering the delightful customer experience that we all expect today from the companies we deal with.
And John, I do not disagree, but at the same time, I do believe that most C-level executives are, conscientious. They are wanting those things and are trying to drive. I don't think they wake up every morning and says, geez, I can't wait to be, I'm stupid. I don't think that's the case. And I don't think you are saying that either. Like you mentioned United. I've sat next to Jeff Russakow on a plane. Now, of course, I'm a global member and I'm one of the top flyers, but I've sat back in the back with Jeff Russakow as well. And I know these consciences, and it's just tough to do it. It's tough to run that size and scope of an operation. And guess what? I'll guarantee it's like software. You're going to have bugs. You're going to have screw-ups. You're going to have mistakes. And that's just the nature of the business. And we have to learn to be somewhat accommodating. But when there's an opportunity to shine, we should be trying to shine whenever possible, especially when it's a human interaction. And it's unfortunate to see the Comcast thing or the Southwest thing, or, we can all make a list of all those bad experiences that we've had. You just try to move beyond it and get the best thing you can.
Yeah, so I agree. And that was kind of to my second point. When you've got thousands or tens of thousands of people having tens of millions of interactions, not every employee, to Jeff's point, is going to be perfect. Not every interaction is going to be perfect, and there's going to be a rate. With some of these ones that recorded, they're a little more beyond the pale, but they become just the the example that drives everyone's perception. But let me point to a different thing that's going on here, which is, let's look at the economics of it. Let me give you an example. 10 years ago, I bought a laptop. I paid $1,500 for it. I put $300 worth of service software on it. At that point, you can afford to take a $20 phone call from somebody and really spend some time with it. Now the device is almost free. The software is almost free. We've always bundled service to the product as a way to get you to consume the product. As the economics of the product have gone to zero, it's essentially pulling your service economics down to the bottom of the pool with it. And so you see this entire world of, whether it's tech or telecom or et cetera, trying to basically chase their service dollar down to zero, and then you basically get what you pay for. You're going to have a very large number of very poorly trained people distributed many places around the world with less training. And so the question is really, what is the value of service to the consumer, and where do the economics capture it so that you can actually afford to provide a good quality service if it's not perceived to have value?
So I'm going to interject here, because last week we talked about, and I would agree with you. And Jeff, you said something about the relationship or passion for your business, and I think that part of the problem is that if it's your business and you're the CEO of a company, and you're going to wake up in the morning, and the things that you're going to think about to start your day are, I really want my customers to love our product. I really want them. How are we going to get them to love us? How are we going to get them to buy more of our product because they care about us? But if you outsource your employees and you outsource customer care or technicians, the outsourcing CEO doesn't think, I want them to care about the product. They're thinking, how are we going to make money? How are we going to, narrow our costs? And how are we going to make our answer times better, our hold times better? And that seems to be the case. I mean, would you agree that, I don't know, maybe the problem isn't necessarily with the brand, or is it with the outsourcer? Jeff number two?
Well,
Jeff number two, no. So I've used, literally tens of thousands of people in outsourced positions, as well as I've had people in other countries that were my employees, and I've had, thousands of people internally. Look, you have to have a mindset that these people represent you and make them like family. So it doesn't matter where they get their paycheck from. If you are not going out spending time with these young people, helping them to understand why representing Comcast, wherever that career is a great thing for them to do, and why their career, they don't have a career path, they're going to phone it in too, pun not intended. So, you know, outsource, insource is actually, I think, a bit of a red herring. Are you treating the people who greet your customers as your own and taking care of them as your own and making sure that they have brand loyalty and they have employee satisfaction? If you do, they'll do well.
Well, Jeff, John said it well. John said, if I can paraphrase you, John, because I do say this as well. You and I have had many discussions about this, but a brand is a promise delivered. So it's about what that promise is, and no matter who's delivering it for you, whether it's the lowest rung on the totem pole to the CEO, if you're not delivering on that brand promise, you don't have a brand, or you have a poor brand.
And in addition to the brand is the promise delivered. I believe that a company brand is made up of the sum of the socially empowered employees today. And so today, the personal brand of your team members is something I think all companies should be focused on nurturing and empowering their teams to build, because through that brand, the company brand is built because the experience that they deliver through the interactions is critical to the success of your company's culture, as well as the experience you deliver to your customers. But I just want to say something about my cable bill, okay? Have you guys looked at your effing cable bill lately? You guys got to wake up and open up those effing envelopes and look at the cable bill. My cable bill literally is approaching $300 a month. Now,
Ouch.
How in the hell does the cable bill get that expensive? So I don't know about what services Comcast is selling, but I know that they're making a lot of money on those cable customers, so they can afford to deliver better customer service.
John, back when you were selling Goldmine many years ago, what was your cell phone bill? Mine used to be like $3,000-$4,000 a month, and look at it today. It's all I can eat for $150.
You know, one of the things about customer service that a lot of people forget is that we're still so focused on this old model of trying to be reactive about customer service rather than being proactive about creating great customer experiences. And I really love what John said about being socially connected, about being socially mindful, because, you know, when you have a great customer service operation, it starts at the beginning. It starts in the way that you market to people. It starts in the way that your salespeople interact with the customers. It's not a reactive thing where you have a problem and then you solve the problem. It's making the consumer so excited to be part of your organization that when they do have a problem, they're coming in at a higher level instead of this low expectation of we're never going to get the service that we need.
So do you
I
hire?
love what you just said, Bob. And you know what I'm going to add to that? I believe that an intelligent company today is empowering their customers to deliver the customer care and improve the journey of their customers throughout the whole life cycle. So what we do at Nimble is we basically tell stories, and we have our customers tell those stories through the experience that they have with our product. They are our marketers, they're our salespeople, and they're our customer service people. So we've got 23 people in the company. We're servicing 80,000 registered Nimble users, and scale to that is we do it through our customers, and they're helping us to not only scale the brand, but also tell the story and service the customers by helping them when they ask questions online, which is effing incredible. I think that's a model for the future.
I agree with it, but I'd broaden it. I mean, the best companies really understand that customer experience is a religion and not a function or a job, right?
Amen.
Are you thinking about the customer experience? When you design the product, when you figure out it's affordable, when you market it, when you sell it, everything.
Yeah.
And if you're waiting until they crash and then you call the poor customer support person to basically figure out how to get them back on the road, you're not making them satisfied. You're just basically bouncing them back into play. That is not customer experience.
But guys, what's stopping companies from doing that today? I mean, we've had predictive models, we've had all this data, it's all been there before. But yet, you know, when I left Northwest, which was then became Delta, and I was platinum on there, and I stopped writing them to switch to United, for instance, and immediately, you know, started doing 200,000 miles there. Why didn't Delta pick up and say, hey, where did that guy go? Why wouldn't they have something like that to say, hey, he was one of my best customers, now he's left me and gone somewhere else? I don't understand why we can do that today and we're not doing it.
Jeffrey, the problem is you're a number and you're basically part of a marketing machine as opposed to somebody who's actually empathizing your journey and connecting with you after that switch. and having a conversation in some form or another. I think that the old tools of yelling at your customers about how great your products and services are dead. What you need to be doing today is listening to your customers and delivering on the services that they need to be happy.
I want to talk about the measurement.
You should have been doing that anyway, John. I think all companies should have been doing it. I think because the way it used to be stacked, we got away with it. And now, because of, I think truly so because of social media, we finally given people a voice to say, I'm tired of that crap. I'm not putting up with it. And I'm going to say something about it that all my friends can say. And before I could only tell 10 or 15 people when I ran into them. Now I can tell 1,000 or 10,000, or I can tape the damn thing and play it out and it becomes viral.
Okay.
I'm mad as hell and I'm not taking it anymore.
I'm not taking it anymore. That's really good. I like that. And I want to talk about how social media plays a part. I also want to talk about how to hire great talent and how we actually motivate our employees. But before we do that, I want to thank another sponsor for our show today, which is Hover. When you have a great idea, you want to secure the domain name for it. You want something catchy and memorable to represent your online identity. Well, Hover gives you exactly what you need to get the job done. You'll find the perfect domain for your idea so you can get started on it right away. Right now, Hover is having a sale on all domain extensions through September 1. The sale is for new and existing customers, and summer's the perfect time to start a new project. Every single domain is deeply discounted, so you can choose whatever you'd like. .club, .ninja, that'd be for me, .guru, or just about anything. It's easy. Hover takes all the hassle and friction out of registering a domain. It gives you ease to use, powerful tools to manage your domain so that anyone can do it. You can get the perfect domain name and start building your web presence right away. Hover also offers a valet transfer service to make the process completely painless. For free, Hover will take care of the entire process for you and let you know when your domain is settled and ready. They'll transfer all your DNS settings, no matter how many domain names you have, and it's at no additional cost. Hover is honest. They don't believe in heavy-handed upselling. They include everything you need with your domain, no more and no less. They also include a custom email. You'll get a smart control panel so that you can do what you want with your domain. Plus, Whois Privacy is included for free on every domain that supports it. If you ever need it, Hover has the best customer support around. It's known for its no wait, no hold, no transfer phone service. When you call, a real person is ready to help. Hover now offers volume discounts. They give you a discount on your domain renewals starting at just 10 domains. The idea is the more domains you have in your account, the less you have to pay to renew them. Visit Hover to register your domain and get 10% off your first purchase. Take advantage of their summer sale. Go to hover.com and use promo code MM8. We thank Hover for their support of Marketing Mavericks. What a great deal. And speaking of customer service, it is nice to actually talk to somebody. And we're talking to some experts in this area today. Thanks, guys. And I hope I can get in a word edgewise because you all have you all have a great point of view on how to actually build a relationship with your customer. And, you know, Jeff Hayzlett, you mentioned, I should say Jeffrey, you mentioned before that social media has such a big play today. And then we're seeing that with Comcast because what happened? Twice now, a customer has recorded their conversation and it's gone viral on social media. And so everyone's talking about it. And before, when you had a bad experience with wherever company it was, whether it's a service provider or not, you told your 10 friends, and now that's different. And we know that's different. It's been different for a long time, but it seems like some brands aren't really getting how to come out and maybe handle a crisis like this when it starts. And I think that's a big part of the problem for Comcast is they aren't really dealing with the outlash and customer complaints that are going viral on the internet. What do you say about that, Jeffrey?
Well, sometimes it's difficult. You know, a lot of companies, especially bigger companies, they just don't have the mechanism to be nimble. Excuse me, John, kind of play off of John's name, but they don't have.
See what he did there?
Exactly. But they don't. They don't have the ability to be light of foot. And so they have heavy procedures, heavy policies, especially in more regulated industries, which to some extent Comcast is. But regardless of that, what they have to do is learn to just be human. And I think the more human you are, I mean, it's okay to every once in a while just say, screw up. And it's okay to be, to tell somebody every once in a while, as I've done it when I was at a big Fortune 100 company, to tell somebody, and I tweeted it out, bite me, It's okay to do something, have some personality, be who you are. But the problem is they're afraid to act. Most companies are afraid to act, and they're afraid they'll make a big mistake, or they're just not even set up for it. That's a bigger issue.
I often say the more digital we get, the more human we need to be. And ultimately, it's not B2B or B2C. It's P2P and H to H, where it's humans dealing with humans. And I think that the more companies can really understand and remember that their customers are human, they need to empathize with them, and they need to basically admit quickly, we effed up, we have humans working here, and we're doing our best, and move on. I think that it wouldn't get as big.
A lot of people, they lift up Zappos as being one of the best examples of customer service. I'm not jumping on that bandwagon per se, as far as their great use of social media in this spectrum. But it is interesting. Zappos is not all that great at social media. What they're really great at is creating awesome customer experiences that are very personal, that are very much connected with their representatives by phone, and they make these experiences that everybody wants to share. So, the real capital of social media is shareability. So, they don't do great social media. What they do is great customer service that everybody wants to talk about. And that's the lesson of social media. And exactly like you said, John.
Yeah, and the same is true with Apple, right? Because Apple delivers amazing customer experience. And I'm sorry, Jeff.
That's right.
Number two, I have to tell the story about Zappos. So my son wrote a letter as a school project to Zappos, and he basically said that my family loves getting the Zappos box, and it's a family experience that we do. We open up the shoes and we try them on, and if we don't like them, we send them back, and it's a wonderful customer experience. 2 weeks later, it's like a week later, a box came to my son. A handwritten letter was in there from the head of customer experience there, and in it was the culture Bible of Zappos, and it was a hand-built book from all the team members basically writing this story to my son about customer experience and culture at Zappos. And I cried when I saw that. And I basically just said, this is an amazing example of customer experience.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So what about being a leader and kind of that trickle down? There's a company that as a service provider, and I'll just say it's a telecom provider who tells all of their employees all the way from the frontline customer service to frontline managers to all the way up the ladder, that they actually have to spend a certain amount of time on the phone each week listening to customers to help keep them connected. Now, I'm not saying that all businesses should do that, but that definitely speaks to the mentality and the leadership of that organization.
Yeah, I can't speak to that practice strongly enough. One of the things that I would always do is I would insist on having two things. I would have people take the trip, fly up to Portland, Oregon, or wherever our call center is, and I would have engineers, marketers, finance people. If you even sit down for a few hours and listen to real calls of real people and what they're trying to solve, it is amazing what change management that occurs when they go back. The second thing I would do, because it's expensive to fly people, is most customer experiences are recorded. You always get the whole thing, we're recording for training purposes. I would just put together greatest hits audio or videos of 15 or 20 calls, and I would just circulate that like a podcast to all my employees. There was nothing better you could do because they started to realize the fundamental things. It made the customer human again. You weren't processing 30 million people. Now you were talking about Agnes. It made it very real.
Agnes.
I tell you, years ago, I used to work with
Agnes,
a company.
Mavis.
We had a label company, and I actually used to take the entire executive team and say, okay, here, go order a label, just like our customers would. Many of them hadn't done that before. So that was one. The second, when I was at Kodak, I gave every single C-suite executive in that company a customer service problem, and they had to call the customer and fix the problem. Now try to do that when someone's camera's broken, someone's printer's broken, or someone had a bad plate, a printing plate. And I would switch those around, and they had to deal with that customer and then follow it through so they could experience what it was like for that customer to have to call in. And when you start doing things like that, you start thinking a little bit differently about, ooh, geez, maybe we shouldn't cut back in that department. Maybe we should do some different things. Or, you get to understand and put yourself in a customer's position.
We recently hired some new team members for our social team. Every single one of them started in customer care. I believe that getting on the customer care line and picking up the phone is a critical part of the teaching of what your product's about and what your customers are go through. And I often get on the phone and talk to customers because that's how you learn.
Let's talk about something that, Jeff, I know you've done really well, and all of you actually have done a pretty decent job of, including you, Bob, and that is developing the personal brand. You see even customer care agents who are online social media customer care agents, building their brand, talking about what they're doing, all the way to the leaders of an organization, the CEO, the CMO. And I think as a customer, you feel somewhat connected to the employee. How important is that, or does that get in the way of the mission of the organization? I mean, what's more important, the employee's personal brand or the brand of the business?
I assume that's to Jeffrey.
Yeah, Jeffrey. Yeah.
Well, I was also going to let Bob go too, but I'll say something. Look, John mentioned this a little bit earlier too, and I think it's very important that you look at somebody's own personal brand before you even bring them on. I mean, recently I was looking for a salesperson in New York, and I tweeted out to everybody I'm looking for a salesperson. So this person said, "Hey, I'm interested in the job." So I went and checked out the person's personal Twitter page. And I saw where down in his Twitter page, he actually applied. He was looking at another job, and he said, this new company requires a drug test. What a bummer. Buzzkill. Buzzkill. He wrote that. And then the next 30, 40 tweets with his name were his people telling him how to beat the drug test. So needless to say, this guy is not going to make it to our team. But this is the kind of stuff you want to start to look for, and I think you're collective of who you've got in your group, and that's an important thing. Your company brand's your company brand, but your personal brand's your personal brand. I wouldn't want to be known for being late. I wouldn't want to be known for being irresponsible. I would want to be known for some good things, and the things that I do, my pictures, the things I say or do should be reflective of that, because I've always said in that book you held up, the first book, and the last chapter was about how you sell yourself. When I see a business owner walk in, whether they're in the Fortune 100 companies or they're in a small business, when I see those people walk in, I think of him or her, I think of the business. When I think of the business, I think of that person who leads that business. That's the way I look at it. So you sell yourself, sell the business, sell yourself.
Okay, but here's the rub about personal branding, because I'm a big believer in personal branding as well. But there's this story circulating around right now about Laura Madison, the sales associate for Bozeman, Toyota of Bozeman, and she has completely eclipsed the brand of the dealership she works with. She's invested $3,000 in marketing, has her own website called lauratoyota.com. She has her own phone number. She does not put any of the leads through her own pay, through the dealership's phone system. It goes right to her. She's got her own wraps. She's basically ignored the entire brand of the company that has hired her to sell, and she's selling buku Toyotas. She's doing really well. She's leveraging Pinterest, she's leveraging Instagram, she's leveraging Facebook and Twitter, and she's doing all the things her dealership was not doing. And the sales management can't really say anything because she's moving inventory for the dealership. But the rub for that is, could somebody at Boeing do the same thing without some major flashback? Without people getting really upset that you're not supporting the brand of the company.
If you think about it, Frank at Comcast cares, right? So Frank started Comcast Cares, the Twitter handle, and he basically used it to empathize and engage with the customers. What that did is it shifted people's perspective of the way Comcast did business and provided customer service. Eventually, Frank outgrew that job at Comcast and now runs social at, I think, Citibank. And
Citibank. It's Frank Eliasson who you're talking about, Citibank.
Yes, exactly. And so Bob, I think it's okay for that sales rep to have eclipsed the brand of the organization. She's still working there. She for them, and then hopefully that company is learning from that sales rep and starting to embed those processes within the organizations. But I believe if you look at any modern company, let's pick on HubSpot for a second. The HubSpot brand isn't built by one person running social media at HubSpot. What it is there's a team of people that on a daily basis are sharing content and engaging with the customer as a trusted advisor who are individually building their personal brands and thereby building the company brand through the entire experience of the team at HubSpot. We do the same thing at Nimble. I think that's the modern model for organizations.
Doesn't there need to be a balance, though? Isn't there a balance between, because when you're doing personal branding, of course you need to be doing personal branding. It's for your own career. You need to have some kind of presence. But at the same time, you're hired by this company to support the brand of the company as well.
And what I'm saying, Bob, is that the team members at Nimble share content that educate our customers about how they can grow their business through more effective sales, marketing, customer service, social media, social selling. They're not basically saying Nimble's a great product. What they're doing is they're teaching our customers how to fish, and they figure out we sell fishing poles. They're not saying that individual person's a great person. They're building their brand by saying, hey, I'm Bob, I'm a sales guy, and I'm great. What they're doing is they're sharing content that inspires and educates our customers. And when the customer gets inspired, they bite on that content, we reel them in, and they basically say, hey, you're helping me grow more business. What do you do? And they basically figure out that we actually sell the fishing pole that helps them to do that. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about people who basically are selling.
I'd agree that
right, Bob. There's a tipping point. There is a tipping point for some of these folks that they become bigger than the brand, or they become not a useful tool. Bob, I'll use my own personal example. There was a certain time where I said, I just got to leave Kodak. I get one, either the brand's going to tarnish me, or I'm not going to do the job for the brand because I want to go off and do this and it's not leading it. And so there is a balance for that. That's when I wrote my book and I said, look, I've got to get out of here because I'm not going to fight that battle internally in that company. But my job at the time, because I took a lot of heat, I will tell you, inside the company, I took a lot of heat about being the voice or the face for Kodak. But my boss, my CEO at the time, gave me the air cover saying that's exactly what his job is to draw attention to this company and do it in any way he possibly can for as little as money as possible. So, but there is a point where you're exactly right, Bob, where they overshadow, and if the company doesn't get with it, that person's got to move on.
This is Jeff too. I just love to jump in. I agree. There's a point at which it's no longer tasteful, appropriate, or in context. But let me put a different angle on this. Where is the place where a worker, a regular, everyday worker, can actually express their personal brand? If I'm not $150,000 or year or more white collar person where I can go to LinkedIn to express my personal brand, where do I go? Right? Today, I've largely had, social media of all kinds, but what's the platform to build my personal brand if I'm, basically in customer service and in Comcast? That's one of the things, obviously, finally you're getting at. And one of the things that we're trying to build, but that's part of the issue is then you get this muddying between the personal social platform and professional brand because there really isn't an outlet provided by the employer.
I disagree with that, Jeff. I do think you do have an example of that every single day. It's doing your job. And it's being the best ambassador you can for that, whether you're on the phone, in a letter, you come to work clean, you give an outwardly appearance of doing a great job. The difference is in amplification of that. There's no difference like in size of a business between Main Street and Wall Street, the numbers of zeros. And the same thing about exhibiting or showing your personal brand, whether you're quite frankly, the janitor who does a great job and makes sure that the bathrooms are clean so that the business looks great when people come to visit and have to use the facilities, to the person who has the ability to appear on Bloomberg on primetime.
Yeah, actually, I agree with you. I was going a different way. So I agree. Within the job, you should represent your company and keep it balanced.
And I would say that the auto dealer that has hired this woman hired somebody that really wants to do a good job, and she wants to be a success. And I think when you have somebody that's incredibly passionate and is building a relationship with customers, which clearly sounds like she's doing, and Jeff number 2, you talked about a friend of ours and somebody who's a frequent guest on the show, which is Frank Eliason. And I remember when he was at Comcast Cares, and when he wasn't available to answer customer questions, when people were asking for him, they would jump in. And I think, John, you mentioned this as well, but the customers and Twitter users would jump in to Frank's defense because they felt like they had a relationship with him. And I think that's where this personal branding is really important because people feel connected to you. I mean,
you know, Tonya, I have a formula for personal brand. I believe that your professional net worth is equal to the sum of your personal brand plus your professional network, and that you build your brand on a daily basis by the actions you take and the words that you share, and that your company brand is built to the sum of the socially empowered employees that are part of your team. If you Google today, pound social biz space IBM, what you will find is there are thousands of IBM team members around the world building the IBM brand as a thought leader in and around the areas of social business by sharing content and engaging customers in and around the promises of how they can grow and be more effective in social business. This model is being elephant like IBM. It could be done by any nimble company today. And I think that the model and the platform that you use is you basically just start empowering your team members to build their brands on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and Pinterest, et cetera. And what you do is you help them share content that inspires and educates the customer about the promise of your product and let them then begin engaging customers and becoming a trusted advisor.
How as leaders are we measuring that then? I mean, how are we saying, especially for those employees who may not be as comfortable using social media? I mean,
well, you reserve it for the customer-facing team members that it's logical for. You're not going to basically do this for, you know, everybody in the company, but there are key members that should be people that are representing your brand. And I'm going to pick on HubSpot as an example again, right? Mike Volpe is their CMO, and he's a thought leaders in and around the areas of marketing and social, but he's not the only guy that basically out there engaging. Mark Rabaj, Again, Darmish, there's literally hundreds of people that are doing that. They couldn't build the brand they have by just sharing content on @HubSpot. And I believe that the modern company has to be able to share content through their team members or empower their team members to do so, and then enable them to engage in an intelligent way, participating in tweet chats, participated in forums like this. So rather than it just being John sharing content and engaging in the forums like this, it's team members at my company who are also doing this too. And that is way you scale your brand.
And absolutely, that brands cannot be scared of this. Brands cannot be scared of their employees having a personal brand, because that, you know, you don't have any commitment to your employee beyond the paycheck you're giving to them. In the end, if the business goes away, you're going to let them go. They need to have this personal brand in order to survive and go forward. And the modern company needs to find ways to leverage this personal brand for the benefit of the company, not be scared of it and kind of crush it.
Amen.
Crushing it. You know, I think we could talk about this topic all day, but, you know, we don't have all day. In fact, I want to thank all of you for staying with us for the show and debating, rolling up your sleeves, saddling up, and challenging this conversation around customer service. I'd love to have you all back and talk more about it. But in the meantime, I'm going to ask each one of you to tell us how we can connect. So, Jeff, number one, Jeff Hayzlett, if somebody wants to follow your show, connect with you, your PR agency, or however, maybe just follow you on Twitter, what's the best way they can do that?
The best way to do is just search for Hayzlett, Hayzlett. If that name, there's not too many of us. There's a few other people named Jeffrey as well, but it's Jeffrey Hayzlett. You just follow me or search C-Suite. You'll find anything about us. And we'd love to have you follow us on C-Suite TV or on Bloomberg or anything else that we're doing.
Absolutely. And Jeff, number two, what's
easiest way? Just find me, Jeff at Finally.
Jeff at Finally. And we'll have to have you come back and talk more about Finally. I love you and I've talked about it. I want to hear more about, I want to share more about what you're doing. Jon Ferrara, what's the best way somebody can connect with you?
Well, Nimble's really easy. NIMBLE. Nimble.com or @Nimble, or follow me, Jon_Ferrara. On a daily basis, what I'm doing is I practice what I preach. It's the 5 E's of social business. Educate, engage, enchant, embrace, and empower your customers. And you do that by giving your knowledge away and helping your customers grow.
That sounds great. And Bob Knorpp, love your BeanCast. If somebody wants to connect with you, how should they do it?
Yeah, the best way to connect with me is to go to thebeancast.com. That's the home of everything that has to do with the show and about my business and about my social presence. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, just at Bob Knorpp. The spelling is right there below me.
Oh, there you go. We're going to lose our little Brady Bunch setup. But I got to say, if you haven't checked these out, before the new one, Jeff's books.
Hey, this is Marketing Mavericks. Maybe we should just be Mavericks and stay on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's where I'm at. Let's do it.
Oh, okay.
No.
I know you could handle it. You guys would wear me out.
This is
I've
fun.
had 4 double espressos laced with 5-hour energy drinks today, so I'm ready to roll.
No more Mountain Dew for you? Aren't you a Diet Mountain Dew?
I gave up Diet Mountain Dew, and then I went to 5-hour energy drinks. Then I went over to Italy for a while. And now I drink double espressos. But I tweeted it. I tell you the power of tweets. I tweeted out that I'm thinking about giving up 5-hour energy drinks because I found it double espressos. Thank you, Italy. And immediately Twitter wrote back on Twitter. 5-hour wrote back and said no, and then shipped me a case of them. So I'm back on them.
And in our 5th hour, Jeffrey will jump off of the cliff.
He's going to ride into the sunset.
Yeehaw!
I need a cowgirl hat. Well, thanks again, guys. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. I got to get you all in the studio.
We're in. We're going. Pomona, here we come. We're Petaluma. We're
Wine country.
Petaluma, California.
That flies with me.
Fun for me. I can come on up.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Well, that concludes this episode of Marketing Mavericks. You can follow us by going to Twitter and use the hashtag Marketing Mavericks. Follow me at Tonya Hall Radio or email me. Yep, old school. Email mavericks@twit.tv. Tell me what you think about the show, maybe who you'd like to hear from, and what topics you'd like for us to discuss. Until next week, we'll be back Monday with Marketing Mavericks. Thanks, everybody.